My name is Emily Hartman, and I am 28 years old. I never imagined a birthday could feel like an ambush, but that morning, the world around me tilted sideways. I had spent years being the responsible daughter, the one who worked late, covered for everyone, and yet somehow never counted. The breakfast table was a battlefield in disguise. My father, Evan Hartman Sr., scowled over his newspaper. My mother, Linda, hummed softly in the kitchen, a tune that hid tension like wallpaper over cracks. And my sister Samantha was scrolling her phone, her lips curling into a practiced smile that never reached her eyes. "Oh, Emily, happy birthday," Samantha said without looking up. "I almost forgot. Thought you might want some privacy." Her voice was coated in sugar, but I tasted bitterness. I didn't respond. I didn't need to. I slid my phone into my pocket and let the silence stretch. I'd grown accustomed to being invisible, a ghost in my own family, the one who paid for groceries, fixed their cars, covered their mistakes, the one who gave everything and received nothing but subtle contempt. I thought about the weekend I'd skipped, the friends I hadn't seen, the overtime I'd worked, all because they needed me. And for what? To be reminded that I was convenient, not cherished? My hands tightened into fists, but I felt nothing, or so I told myself. Numbness had become a companion. Then my phone buzzed, a single message. "Unknown number. Happy birthday. I'm alive." I froze. My pulse thundered in my ears. A prank? A cruel joke? The number looked familiar, area code from my grandfather's town. My heart refused to slow. My grandfather, Henry Hartman, had been dead for 3 years, or so they told me. "Me, who is this?" The reply came instantly. "Unknown number. They lied to you. Your house. Your inheritance. They took it. I need your help." The world narrowed to the glow of my phone. A cold sweat broke across my skin. I couldn't sleep, couldn't think, couldn't breathe. My grandfather, taken from me in life and allegedly gone in death, was alive and in danger. By mid-morning, I was at the nursing home, a gray, tired building that seemed to absorb the sunlight. A nurse looked up at me as I approached, her smile fading. "I'm here to see Mr. Hartman," I said, voice trembling. "I think he's my grandfather." She softened, nodding. "Room 214. He's been waiting." I almost ran, then stopped. What if it was a mistake? What if a stranger sat there pretending? But the moment I pushed the door open, all doubt vanished. There he was, silver hair, lined face, sunlight tracing golden patterns across his skin. His eyes met mine, and he smiled, a weak, trembling smile that carried decades of unspoken truth. "I knew you'd come," he whispered, voice dry but alive. "Grandpa, you're supposed to be dead," I stammered. "That's what they wanted you to think." He gestured to the bed beside him, and I collapsed, overwhelmed. "They took everything. Your inheritance, your house. They told you I died because I refused to sign it over. So they forged it. They buried an empty casket, said it was family only, and you weren't invited." I felt my stomach twist. My hands trembled. Photos, funerals, whispers, all lies. My family had played me like a pawn. His hand found mine. "Be careful," he said, surprisingly strong. "They'll do anything to keep what they stole." I stood, resolve igniting. I won't let them get away with this. The cold winter air bit at my face as I walked out of the nursing home, phone in hand, already dialing. My father picked up after 2 rings. "Oh, so you finally remembered your family exists," he said, voice sharp, a blade hidden behind faux humor. "I just visited Grandpa," I said. Silence. Then I let the truth slice through. "I know everything, Dad. You told me he was dead. You stole his house, his money. You faked his death and left him to rot in a nursing home." "Watch your mouth," he snapped. "You don't know anything." "I know enough," I said, voice cold as glass. "I have the texts, the photos. I'm going to the police." A muffled curse from him, and then my mother, voice cracking. "Please, sweetheart, don't do this. We did it for the family." I laughed, bitter. "Family, or for yourselves, because your idea of family is a web of lies." I hung up. They called back instantly. I ignored them. I went home and began the meticulous work of gathering proof. Bank records, photos, social media posts, all painting the stark reality. They had stolen from me, from Grandpa, and tried to hide it behind a facade of care. By nightfall, my apartment was a war room. The laptop glowed, files labeled truth, evidence backed up in multiple drives. The numbness I had carried for years transformed into something alive, burning, a fire that would not be ignored. And I knew when the confrontation came, nothing would be the same. The apartment was quiet except for the soft hum of my laptop. I sat cross-legged on the floor, a stack of folders beside me, the glow of the screen painting my face pale in the dim light. Every document I opened, every bank statement I scanned, added fuel to the fire inside me. My hands shook as I clicked through transaction after transaction. Thousands of dollars siphoned from Grandpa's accounts over 3 years, slipping quietly into my mother and sister's names. Luxurious vacations, shopping sprees, expensive dinners, all funded by lies. I swallowed hard, trying to keep my mind from spiraling. How could they do this? How could they look me in the eye every day, smiling, pretending, while stealing what was rightfully mine? I saved screenshots of social media posts side by side with bank transfers, like a cruel jigsaw puzzle where each piece screamed betrayal. Samantha's latest post showed her lounging on a yacht, cocktails in hand, designer bag on her lap. Right next to it, a bank transfer, $12,000 from Grandpa's account. The evidence was damning, undeniable. My fingers flew over the keyboard as I compiled files into a folder I labeled simply, Truth. I paused, taking a deep breath, letting my chest expand and contract as the weight of years of deception pressed down. I remembered every time I had helped them out of sheer necessity, every time I had put my own life on hold to make theirs easier. And all the while, they had plotted, hidden, and stolen. My heart thudded, a steady rhythm of anger and resolve. I couldn't just confront them with words anymore. They needed proof. Solid, irrefutable proof. I found hotel receipts for my mother's trips to spa resorts while claiming she had errands to run. Photos of Samantha's shopping sprees. Copies of forged signatures on legal documents meant to transfer Grandpa's estate to their names. Everything was here, meticulously organized, ready to show them for the first time that I was no longer a pawn in their game. I leaned back, letting the chair creak beneath me. My grandfather's face flashed in my mind, his tired eyes, his trembling smile, the way he had trusted them all and had been abandoned. A wave of guilt washed over me. Not for him, I couldn't undo what they had done, but for me, for the years I had wasted believing in a family that never truly cared. The next step was dangerous. I had to confront them in public, somewhere controlled, somewhere I could watch their reactions without risking my own safety. A cafe seemed perfect, neutral ground, public, but private enough to speak freely. I imagined the expressions on their faces when they saw the files, the evidence. My pulse quickened. They wouldn't expect this, not from me. I made a checklist. Laptop fully charged, USB drive secured, evidence backed up 3 times over, photos printed, bank statements copied, emails time-stamped. I wanted no loopholes, no excuses. When the confrontation came, they would see everything. And then there were the texts. I scrolled through them again, reading Grandpa's words. They lied to you. Your house. Your inheritance. They took it. I need your help. Every time I read it, I felt that familiar fire ignite. I owed him justice. Not revenge, exactly, but truth. Exposure. Liberation. Night had fallen, and the city outside was quiet, streetlights casting long, stretched shadows across the pavement. I poured myself a cup of coffee, sipping slowly, letting the bitter warmth steady my nerves. The calm was temporary, I knew, a fragile bubble before the storm. I imagined them arriving at the cafe, smug smiles hiding uncertainty. I would see through every lie, every smirk, every attempt at manipulation. The folder on my laptop glowed like a promise. Truth. That was all I needed. That was all they needed to see. And when they did, nothing would be the same. For the first time in my life, I felt untethered from their control. The numbness I had carried for years was gone, replaced by a clear, sharp purpose. I wasn't the obedient daughter anymore. I wasn't the convenient one. I was Emily Hartman, and I had the power to reclaim what was mine. The night stretched on, and I worked tirelessly, organizing files, printing copies, ensuring nothing could be disputed. Every click, every swipe, every careful arrangement of evidence felt like reclaiming a piece of myself, a piece of Grandpa stolen by my family's greed. And as the clock ticked past midnight, I finally leaned back, exhausted but resolute. The cafe confrontation was set, the files were ready, and my heart thumped with anticipation. This was more than a family feud. This was justice, overdue and inevitable. Tomorrow, they would see the truth, and there would be no going back. The cafe smelled of fresh coffee and baked bread, a calm, almost innocuous backdrop for the storm I was about to unleash. I chose a table tucked in the corner, far from the windows, a perfect vantage point to watch the entrance. My laptop glowed in front of me, the folder labeled Truth Open, USB drives secured. I felt my pulse thrum in anticipation, every nerve on edge, yet steady. Minutes later, the bell above the door jingled, and they entered. My father, Evan Sr., tall and rigid, his face tight with control. My mother, Linda, her hands trembling slightly, lips pressed together as if to hold back a scream or a lie. And Samantha, radiant as always, her smile a practiced mask hiding nothing. I could see it in her eyes. They walked over, taking seats opposite me. The silence stretched, thick and brittle, the kind that snaps without warning. I didn't greet them. I didn't smile. I simply waited, letting the tension build. "Honey, can we please just talk this through?" my mother finally said, voice trembling. "We're family." I let the word hang in the air. Family. The same word they had weaponized, twisted, and abused for years. I leaned back, fingers hovering over the keyboard, eyes locked on them. "Family?" I asked softly, letting the word drip with incredulity. "You told me Grandpa was dead. You stole his house. You left him to rot in a nursing home, and you want me to call this family?" My father's jaw tightened. "Don't you dare!" I clicked the first file on my laptop, a video of Grandpa, frail but alive, speaking clearly. "They stole everything. My house, my money, left me here." My mother gasped, clutching her hands to her chest. Samantha's smile faltered, the first crack in her practiced facade. "You think this little show will scare us?" my father hissed. "He doesn't even know what he's saying. He's senile." "Really?" I said, my voice calm but icy. I clicked another file, a scanned document showing Grandpa's genuine signature next to the forged one. "Reality, Dad. This is reality." The cafe seemed to shrink around them. Patrons glanced subtly in our direction, sensing tension, but I didn't care. Every file I opened, every screenshot, every bank transfer was a dagger slicing through decades of lies. Samantha's eyes widened as I pulled up images of her luxury vacations, side by side with transfers from Grandpa's account. You had no right," she stammered. "Like you had no right to steal what was meant for me," I said, voice rising just enough to pierce the heavy air. "No right to pretend Grandpa was dead. No right to betray him. And me." My mother's voice cracked. "Please, sweetheart. We were just trying to protect you. You've always been so sensitive." "Protect me?" I snapped. "You left him alone. You lied. You stole. And now you expect me to smile and pretend it's okay?" My father leaned forward, rage coiling around him. "Enough. This is family business." I leaned back, eyes cold, unwavering. "You stole. You lied. You abandoned him. And now the truth is coming out." Then the door behind them opened slowly. I hadn't expected this, hadn't dared to hope. Grandpa entered, leaning on his cane, walking with cautious determination. Their reactions were instantaneous. My mother went pale. My father froze, eyes wide, like a trapped animal. Samantha's face twisted into a squeak of disbelief. "Hello, son," Grandpa said, voice weak but resolute. "Surprised to see me?" The cafe air seemed to crackle. Grandpa's presence, quiet yet commanding, was more powerful than any evidence I had brought. My father's mouth opened, words failing him. My mother's hands trembled. Samantha's face was a mask of disbelief and fear. "You said I wasn't safe at home," Grandpa whispered, voice growing stronger with each word. "You promised to take care of the house, that the money was for the family, but all you took care of was yourselves." Silence fell. I felt a deep satisfaction, a vindication so potent it nearly made me ache. The files, the videos, the evidence, they had been necessary. But his voice, his presence was irrefutable. "You're going to regret this," my father hissed, but I could see the doubt threading his words. I smiled faintly, clicking another file. Social media posts, bank transfers, hotel receipts, proof, undeniable and clear. Their power was gone. They were exposed. Grandpa looked at me, his eyes full of gratitude. I had done what he couldn't, what they never imagined I would. Justice wasn't loud, flashy, or vengeful. It was deliberate, calculated, and now inevitable. As we left the cafe together, the winter air sharp against our cheeks, I felt something I hadn't in years. Free, unchained, untouchable. And I knew, in that moment, that nothing would ever be the same. The air smelled of winter and cold concrete as I helped Grandpa into the car. His hands shook slightly, but his eyes were steady, clear, a stark contrast to the years they had tried to bury him alive. "Are you sure you want to do this?" he asked, voice barely above a whisper. "I should have done it years ago," I said. The drive was quiet, the city lights stretching like molten glass across the windshield. Every turn, every stoplight, reminded me that we were leaving the past behind. Finally. The house, the money, the lies, the family that had tried to control and betray us, all of it stayed behind. Back at my apartment, I spread the files out once more, making sure every piece of evidence was organized, labeled, and backed up. No gaps, no mistakes. Forged documents, bank transfers, screenshots, videos, it was all there, a testament to years of deceit. I picked up the phone and called the bank. Each call was deliberate, access revoked, automatic payments disabled, all accounts redirected, every bill, every utility, every expense, now under my name. I wasn't just reclaiming what was stolen. I was asserting my independence. Grandpa watched quietly from the couch, Kane resting beside him. "I can't believe this is happening," he said. "It's happening," I said, a quiet ferocity in my voice, "and it won't happen again." The next day, I returned to the nursing home. I packed Grandpa's belongings, ignoring the surprised glances from the staff. "He's coming home," I said simply, tossing his bags into the car. His smile that day was real, quiet, but genuine, the kind I hadn't seen in years. The apartment I had rented in advance welcomed him with sunlight spilling across the wooden floors. Spacious, bright, overlooking a small park. He moved slowly at first, taking in the space, the freedom, the proof that he had a life again, outside their control. "This is for us," I said softly. "For you and for me." Weeks passed, and we settled into a rhythm. Grandpa planted roses along the balcony, something he had always dreamed of, but my father dismissed as frivolous. We brewed coffee together, watched the city awaken from the window, and talked about the future, about freedom, about everything that had been stolen and was now returned. But even as we rebuilt, the world outside didn't let us forget. Letters arrived first. Pleas, guilt-soaked apologies, desperate demands for money. My mother wrote, her words trembling, "Please, we were wrong. Your father's health is failing. We need help." I read each letter, then burned it in the fireplace. Flames licked the paper, and with them, I felt the last threads of their control disintegrate. Samantha sent one last desperate text. "I lost my job. I have nothing. Please, just a little help." I deleted it without reading. Their attempts to manipulate me, to guilt me into submission, were futile. And my father? He never wrote. I heard through mutual contacts that he spiraled. Debts, anger, addiction. He blamed me, of course, always me. Grandpa and I sat on the balcony one evening, the sun dipping behind the trees, casting long shadows over our roses. He reached over, resting his hand on mine. "You're stronger than I ever imagined," he said, voice trembling with emotion. "No," I said, finally allowing the truth to settle. "I just had nothing left to lose." The city lights flickered as we sat in silence, the air crisp and quiet. For the first time in years, I felt no fear, no guilt, no obligation. The house, the inheritance, the life that had been stolen from us, all reclaimed. Our freedom was intact. I turned to Grandpa and smiled. "Let's plant those roses, every single one you've ever wanted." He laughed, a soft, real laugh that filled the room. I thought I'd never see this day. And in that moment, I knew it wasn't just about reclaiming what was ours. It was about surviving, about rising above the lies, about proving that even in the darkest family betrayals, truth and justice could prevail. The courtroom smelled of polished wood and authority, a sharp contrast to the chaos of family betrayal we had left behind. I sat beside my lawyer, laptop and folders neatly arranged, evidence at the ready. Grandpa sat across from me, Kane resting at his side, eyes sharp and clear. A testament to our perseverance. The judge entered, robe swishing, and the room hushed immediately. My father, Evan Sr., and my mother, Linda, sat stiffly at the defendant's table. Samantha flanked them, her face pale and hands trembling. They had rehearsed lines, attempted excuses, and now, in the sterile clarity of the court, none of it mattered. Your Honor, my lawyer began, calm and confident, we present irrefutable evidence of financial theft, forgery, and intentional misrepresentation concerning the estate of Mr. Hartman. One by one, documents were displayed, forged signatures, transfers from Grandpa's accounts into my family's accounts, screenshots of lavish vacations, hotel receipts, and videos of Grandpa himself confirming the theft. Each piece punctured the narrative my family had tried to maintain for years. My father's face twisted with anger, my mother's with panic, Samantha's with disbelief. I watched quietly, letting the evidence speak for itself. For once, there was no need for my voice to rise. The proof did it all. Then Grandpa stood. He was frail, but his voice carried across the courtroom with a clarity that silenced even the murmurs from the gallery. They stole my life. They locked me away. But Emily, my granddaughter, she saved me, he said, eyes locking onto mine. They buried me alive, and she brought me back. They took everything, but she returned what was mine. Tears pricked at my eyes, not from fear or anger, but from relief and triumph. This moment wasn't just about inheritance. It was about justice, about exposing the rot that had festered under the guise of family. The defense tried, of course. Words flung, excuses, claims of protection, and family responsibility. But the judge's eyes were sharp, discerning, unmoved by lies. The evidence was meticulous, and Grandpa's testimony undeniable. Hours passed, testimony after testimony, documents displayed, cross-examinations conducted. Finally, the judge leaned forward, gavel poised. The property and all assets in question are to be returned to Mr. Hartman and Emily Hartman, the judge declared. The defendants must vacate the premises within 7 days. No further claims shall be recognized. A stunned silence settled over the room. My father's lips parted as if to speak, but no words emerged. Samantha's shoulders slumped, her confidence shattered. My mother's hands trembled violently as she sank back into her chair. We had done it. Every stolen dollar, every betrayal, every attempt to control or intimidate had been nullified. Justice was ours. A week later, Grandpa and I arrived at the house. Movers hauled boxes onto the lawn, while the family we had left behind watched from the porch, speechless and impotent. They shouted, pleaded, but their voices were drowned out by the sound of doors closing and locks changing. I didn't take anything they hadn't already stolen. They had merely returned what was rightfully ours. Inside, sunlight poured through the windows, illuminating fresh paint, new furniture, and the roses Grandpa had insisted we plant. The smell of earth, blooms, and renewal filled the space. For the first time in years, the house felt like home. Grandpa moved through the rooms slowly, cane tapping softly on the floor, but his eyes sparkled with life. I can't believe this, he said, voice hushed with awe. We did it, I said, smiling softly. No more lies, no more betrayal. No one can touch us again. Outside, the world went on, indifferent to our triumph. Letters arrived from my family, desperate, pleading, trying to manipulate guilt. Each one was a flicker of the past, easily extinguished in the flames of our new life. I burned the letters, erased their numbers, changed my contact information, and severed the last threads of connection to those who had tried to destroy us. Grandpa and I sat together on the balcony that evening, watching the city lights flicker and dance like fireflies. He reached over, his hand resting on mine. You did what I never could, he whispered. I did what I had to, I replied, and now we're free. The roses swayed into a cool breeze, the fragrance of new beginnings filling the air. Justice had been served, not with vengeance, but with clarity, courage, and truth. The house, the inheritance, and our lives were ours again. The past could no longer touch us. We sat in silence, the weight of years of betrayal lifted, the chains of deceit broken. And for the first time in my life, I felt the fullness of freedom, earned, hard-won, and finally ours.